What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And today is a beautiful day. It was snowing just a tiny bit yesterday. We know that there's some major cold fronts hitting New York City this week, predominantly tomorrow. We know that the majority of the why am I saying Pacific Northwest? That is what's on my mind, but that is not the region of the world that we live in. The Atlantic Northeast? I don't know if that's a term, but it's a term now. The Atlantic Northeast is getting hit with a pretty sizable snowstorm this week. It has already hit various parts of like Connecticut and upstate New York and Pennsylvania, but tomorrow we're going to get our fair share of the snowstorm. And helping us celebrate all things snowstorms and, movies, a returning champion on Gotta Love That Movies, Mr. Josh Hurley! Woo, 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 woo! Josh,
Wait, I lost last time.
Not in life. You didn't lose in life, my friend. Josh, I'm loving your quarantine hair going on.
Thank you. Yeah, I needed to do something a little different. Mostly just because I haven't gone out to get it cut. So, but it's I'm something a little different, new look. I can do this now.
It's who was one of the newscasters on SNL? Dennis.
Dennis Miller.
You got a little Dennis Miller, like a little '90s Dennis Miller hair going on. I'm digging it.
Thanks, babe.
Well, you're looking good, sir. Thank you for joining us and jumping in and talking. Specifically today, we're talking all things Disney. Again, like last Thursday, Disney dropped so much news. There is not enough time in any show to cover all the news. So yesterday we talked all things animation in both Disney Animation and Pixar, both in terms of film and television, or rather series on Disney Plus. And today we're doing the same thing, but today is live action. Yesterday was animation, today is live action. Hulu made some pretty interesting announcements, as well as FX. And we're just going to jump right in and talk about all that stuff. So Josh, thank you so much for joining here, being part of the conversation. Guys, if you have not already done so, head over to YouTube, type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see a little red square that says subscribe. Go ahead and click that button. What clicking that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. And yes, I understand you may be watching this right now on Facebook Live, but with the more subscribers we get, the more watch content the channel gets. And with the more watch content the channel gets, the more we get to qualify for ad revenue, making this show my full-time job. So I'd very much appreciate your help and support in that regard. And of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, this show will be moving from Facebook to YouTube. So just keep that on your radar. All right, guys, without further ado, we got to jump in and take some movie news.
What?
All right. There is, like I said, there is a ton of things to talk about. In fact, there's so much to talk about today. I had, as I always do on my Google Chrome, I have, all these different tabs open, and I just click from story to story to story through all the tabs. I had to delete a few tabs. We can't actually talk about everything because there just simply isn't enough time. So if you were watching the Disney investors meeting this last Thursday and you remember them saying, hey, I remember them talking about this project, and we don't mention it on today's show, well, that's why. Because it's probably a little lesser known property. It's something that is not going to generate as much buzz, maybe not give us something all that incredibly exciting to talk about and pontificate about. And now that I've just eaten up another 4 minutes talking about why we're not talking about certain things, let's jump in and talk about this. First and foremost, Hulu. We're going to start off with Hulu and FX and then go into the more heavy, Disney heavy type stuff. or rather Disney, you understand what I'm talking about, Disney branded type projects. There is a really interesting show coming to Hulu. It's a Hulu original based on an original idea starring Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez. It's called Only Murders in the Building. A lot of people think that this was an idea concocted from like Steve Martin and Martin Short. You know, they just came off of like a year-long tour where they did a live show. They kind of bounced around from city to city, and they eventually filmed this live show that they were doing and put it up on Netflix as a Netflix special. It's difficult to find projects that have both Martin Short and Steve Martin because their similarities in comedy are so paralleled with each other. They kind of came up in comedy around the same time, like, and around each other. We've seen them in The Three Amigos, you know, with Chevy Chase, and we haven't really seen the two of them in a project together, let alone a television show. So to see them in a show like this, I think is genius. Now, this particular article is posted from Hulu's website, and this is the only synopsis that we have for the show. Only Murders in the Building. In 2021 comes Hulu's newest original series starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. The Untitled Comedy. What are you talking about, Untitled? It's called Only Murders in the Building. Anyway, the Untitled comedy surrounds these three strangers who share an obsession with true crime and suddenly find themselves wrapped up in one. When a murder occurs in their New York City apartment building, they are forced to work together to figure out what happened. I think that is a really interesting premise for a show. I love the concept. Obviously, I love the characters. And you know, like with Steve Martin and Martin Short, it's going to have a very lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek kind of feel to it. Josh, have you heard of Only Murders in the Building? Is this the first time you're hearing of it? How does this strike you? What are your initial knee-jerk reactions? Oh, man. This could not be more perfect. You guys... knowing how much of a fan Josh is of both Steve Martin and Martin Short, the look on this frozen image of Josh is absolutely perfect. It is absolutely perfect. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Oh, we're gonna hang up on Josh, and Josh, I don't know if you can hear me. Call me back. Let's try to get Josh back on the line, because initially when I clicked over to this image to put Josh up on screen, my thought was he is so interested, he is so invested that this is the face that he's making. He's so interested. He he loves this so much. It's so funny to see, because I think, honestly, again, knowing how big of a fan Josh is of both Steve Martin and Martin Short, hearing about a project like this, I think this still image, perfectly sums up exactly how Josh feels about it. Let's jump over. Let me jump back over to Skype, and let's see if we can get Josh back on the line. I don't know if it's Josh's Skype that's freezing or if it's my Skype that's freezing, but let's shut it down and we'll reboot it real quick. Guys, apologies. This is a live stream. What are you going to do here, right? All right. So, all right. Here, oh man, you guys, again, this is the joys of doing a live show. Sometimes things just don't turn out the way that you would like them to. Huge apologies. Bear with me. Here we go. Let's give Mr. Josh Hurley a call back, shall we? So it's ringing. We'll see if he picks up. Hello, Josh, are you there? Can you hear me? as I touch my
Hey, how's it
ear.
going? Yes.
All right, there we go. Josh, that was. I don't know if you could see on your screen what we were seeing on our screens, but the frozen image of you. When I kicked it over to you and said like, what are your initial thoughts? And you're just frozen with this.
That's
I
yep.
so
I
interested.
actually I actually wasn't frozen. That was just my face. That was my reaction to a new Steve Martin short comedy that on Hulu that we get. So, I'm
It's a
very
pretty great
excited about that.
reaction. Pretty great reaction.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I could still hear you and stuff, but it just for some reason might on your end. I guess it froze. Or at least you couldn't see me, but I could see you. So,
Hey,
but we're back.
technology.
Yay!
Yeah. So had you heard of this project before? What's your knee-jerk reactions here?
No, I'm so excited. I gotta hear about this for the first time on I Gotta Love Them Movies.
Yay, exclusive.
Yeah, for real. Like, that's so cool. I can't wait till we find out what the title is of this untitled movie
I
that,
know, right?
or untitled show. I think it's fantastic. I think Steve Martin and Martin Short together is just perfect. And you're right, like Three Amigos, we saw those, and it's amazing that they haven't had a project like this together. Yet they did do that comedy special that they filmed. I can't remember, An Evening to Forget, I believe it's called on
Something like
Netflix.
that, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, after watching that, it's like, how are they not doing something together right now? So this is a perfect idea. I will say I love the plot idea. I think it's great. I think it kind of makes me think of some of the older stuff, like big Diane Keaton fan, older Woody Allen movies of Manhattan Murder Mystery, where the two people were the two people in the building, and there's a murder going on, and they're trying to. I don't remember if it's actually in the building, but
Well, I mean, if
then
you
they're trying
look
to
at the
solve it.
font that they use, here, let's just look at the font again, real quick, that they use. It has, it kind of evokes a little bit of a Woody Allen feel to it.
Yeah,
Just like the, this promo photo that they have. In addition with the concept, just the general concept does kind of have a little bit of a Woody Allen feel to it. Now, I understand Woody Allen is a very polarizing name right now, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
no, go ahead.
I mean, oh, I said, yeah. Maybe I feel like they're probably. I would wonder if that's intentional because they're probably like, nope, no, thank you. Do not associate this with Woody Allen movies, which is fair and that makes sense. I just think it makes me happy to go. But I agree with you. It does have that look of like the Manhattan Murder Mystery. I remember the old
Mm.
video cassette box or something. It was like a blue title with yellow letters, and it was like Manhattan Murder Mystery, little stars and stuff.
Well,
So this
even
definitely
Curse of the
looks
Jade
like it.
Scorpion still kind of like this again, like has that
Yeah,
same
the
kind of a
font and everything.
font. Yeah, very
Yeah, totally,
specific.
totally.
Very
I
specific.
agree, and I think those two together is perfect, and I think it sounds like they found a really good vehicle for them. It sounds like a very sort of like neutral plot in terms of being like, all right, here's a very simple premise. Now we can. It's not overly complicated. It's not too heavy-handed. It's just like here it is, and of course, Martin Short and Steve Martin. You can already just see how this is going to work. Hopefully the writing is good, and hopefully it's as a TV show. Who knows how many episodes we're going to get? So that all may come into play. But I think having them together is like kind of a home run. Like
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if it's going to be a limited series or if it is going to have multiple seasons. I feel like this concept can't be drawn out that far. I see this as a limited series. Because again, like there's certain, unless they do something drastically different, because again, when look at the show, the comedy series Schitt's Creek.
mm-hmm.
It has a very specific premise, but it's the characters that we get drawn into.
Yes.
And it's the characters that we look at and we say, oh, I love watching these characters, or rather you hate watching because they're kind of despicable
Right.
at first. It's a reverse
Right.
Beverly Hillbillies, right?
Yeah.
So when you see that, you're drawn to the premise. And you're like, oh, this is kind of a funny premise, but it's the characters that drive it and make you want to stick around and watch more.
Right.
And knowing, I mean, I hate to say it, but Steve Martin kind of plays the same character in every project that he does. it's a great character, and I think we all love Steve Martin in that regard, but he kind of plays one note over and over and over again. So I don't know if we're going to see that much of a progression of a character for him, as opposed to this just being a very, very situational thing. Do you see it in a different light?
No, I think that's a good point. Steve Martin is the kind of actor where you put Steve Martin in a situation and you watch what happens. Like, it's kind of same thing. Like, I feel like for me, there's a lot of actors. There are actors who are character actors, and there are actors who like turn into somebody else. And then there's an actor like Bill Murray, Steve Martin, who you're like, let's put Bill Murray here and let's see what happens.
Right.
Like Groundhog Day, Ghostbusters. I mean, it's like he kind of plays that sort of sarcastic, sort of like biting character that we all love. Same as Steve Martin. So, yes, I think the thing about this is with Martin Short and Steve Martin's energies, them playing off each other, it's very much a buddy comedy. So we're going to get a yin and yang sort of energy from them, where I'm sure Steve Martin's going to be the sort of the straight, like, whoa, hold on a minute. Wait a second. And I can see Martin Short be like, oh, we got to go. He's this Ed Grimley style, like running around, be like, oh my gosh.
And then you throw Selena Gomez into the mix too, because Selena Gomez has a very different energy from either one of those two guys.
Totally. And so it's going to be a really fun, I think it's going to be just a really fun project. Now, talking about like how many episodes, the premise sort of lends itself to the questions that need to be answered, right? Who done it? Who got murdered? Who done it? Do we figure it out, right? So, I mean, if they figure it out at the end of the season, then, they better have set up, hopefully, some sort of other sort of tent poles that sort of like support another season, because once you figure it out, right, the story's over. It's a very set it up, knock it down.
Did you ever
premise.
see the show The Following with Kevin Bacon a number of years ago?
I mean, I saw some of it. Right, that was the Kevin Williamson one, right? He wrote that. I believe he wrote that.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I mean, he wrote the.
If you haven't seen The Following, here's the basic concept. Kevin Bacon is a police officer, like a detective who has a drug addiction problem, right? And he comes to find out that his girlfriend is in a cult, or rather, she's being hunted by a cult. And this particular cult is just amassing his incredible following, called The Following, and so this cult keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and of course Kevin Bacon is investigating the cult, but the cult is trying to get to him through his girlfriend, this whole thing, right? And season 1 culminates so perfectly that it wraps up the whole story. It wraps up the entire story. So when episode 1 of season 2 premieres, you say, like, no, I'm done. Like, I have invested everything that I want to invest, and I don't want to watch anymore. Same thing with Heroes, the TV show Heroes. Heroes so perfectly wrapped up everything in season 1. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Perfect premise, and they did that. They saved the cheerleader and saved the world. Spoilers, but it shows like 10 years old or something. So who cares?
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that they don't do that. If they are going to do a second season, don't wrap everything up. True Crime on HBO, they did the same thing. I get, like, season to season, it's a completely different story, but it doesn't. There's nothing there that makes you want to invest in a second season. So if they do continue on, I hope that it doesn't go in that direction.
Right, and I think the same thing with, like, I feel like there's that. I think someone who did it right probably would be David Lynch with Twin Peaks, right? With the whole Who Killed Laura Palmer, which was a huge mystery, and it sort of caught fire with everyone of like, who done it? This is a great who done it. But David Lynch, of course, took it beyond what that question asked, and asked a whole bunch of other questions, like, well, wait, what's going on? There's a whole network of, whatever, and so. And having not seen the entire series completely, forgive me, all of our David Lynch fans, but I think that it's brilliant of him to set it up with that kind of question, and then sort of like go, you know what? There's bigger questions that we need to answer here, and hope maybe that's what they'll do here. Maybe they'll kind of be like, yeah, that is crazy, but like, let's expand the world enough to go.
Speaking of bigger questions, the question is for you guys. What do you want to see in Only Murders in the Building? What do you think is going to occur? What kinds of crime? Obviously, probably like a true crime murder based on the premise, but what hijinks do you think will ensue? Do you think there will be a second season? How tongue-in-cheek do you think this is going to be? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys. Our next bit of news today is I think this is pretty cool. Um, it is now confirmed that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if the page wants to to reload as I say this. At the Disney investors meeting, it was announced that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia will be will be renewed through season 18, making It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia the longest running live action television series in history. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty cool announcement. It's such an unassuming show. Like, of all of the television shows, Breaking Bad is the first one that comes to mind. Twilight Zone, some of the best television shows ever. Even Sex in the City, The Sopranos. Obviously, like, these have very specific storylines that they're trying to accomplish in a certain amount of time. It's Always Sunny is just kind of one of those shows that just keeps going and going and going aimlessly, but that's the show because the characters are so aimless themselves. They're horrible people. They're losers in a certain sense, I guess you could say. And it's just fun and wacky if you are into this kind of humor, which my family most definitely is. We are huge lovers of It's Always Sunny. Josh, what are your thoughts about It's Always Sunny being now, because they currently hold the title of the longest running television show, they are breaking their own record to be even further the longest running live action television series of all time. 18 seasons. That's nearly 2 decades. That is crazy. Amazing. Do you, obviously, like, they've earned it because they've been on the air long and there's enough people that enjoy the show, but like, did you see that coming? What other kinds of shows would you have guessed to hold that title?
It's a great, when I heard that information, again, on Gotta Love the Movies, I was surprised, but I was also like, the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it has a really, like, rabid fan base, but it also has enough of an appeal that I can see it, like, kind of keep. It was one of those shows that I think it started really hip and different and cool, and then people kind of caught on and got latched on, and then, the great thing is that it started off. I think, didn't they just make an episode or something, and then the studio was like, we love it, we're gonna buy it, and like it was a passion project.
The pilot episode, because I was living in Philly at the time when it debuted. Which is like that to me. That was a lifetime ago. And it's still on the air. It's crazy. But yeah, it was filmed on a home VHS camcorder. I think was the pilot. It was just, hey, let's test this out. Like, let's just see what happens. And now it became the longest running TV show in history.
Seems like I don't know how involved the studios were in later seasons, but it seems like they were like, you guys are good at what you do, you have a great thing, we're not going to mess with that thing, you do your thing, aside from maybe like censors coming in and being like, oh, we had to figure this out or cut this or whatever, but other than that, it seems like they just left them alone to do their thing, and it obviously works. Such a smart thing for studios to do is like, you guys are creative, you have a brilliant thing, you've made this nice fun shiny thing, we're not going to come in with our hammers and break it. Like, you just make it and do your thing. And it seems like they have, and it works. And obviously 18 seasons later, 18 seasons, again, like, people are talking about The Simpsons being like, man, how do they keep it? That writer's room must be tough, because it's like, season 7 we did that. Oh, season 12 we did that.
I think like one of the tricks is that you constantly have to switch up your writer. Well, not constantly, but from time to time switch up your writers, because writers get stale after a certain point. You have to understand the product, you have to understand what you have, and you have to get other people to understand your brand. And I think that's a huge credit to the showrunners. That's a huge credit to the producers, that they understand what they have and they know how to communicate that to fresh voices and fresh faces.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's funny, and it's like, it's a funny show that keeps being funny, and people love these characters because they love to hate them, but they are, they're part of the culture now, and It's Always Sunny was a little show that just kept doing it, and it just kind of just slowly tortoise in the hair, just kind of slowly just started racing past all these other
It's
shows that
true.
may have had like a bigger reach.
It's true.
Like I don't think my parents know what Always Sunny and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is. I don't
But
think a
your
lot
parents
maybe.
would know Ozzie and Harriet because Ozzie and Harriet
Yes.
was the former champion of the longest running television series of all time until It's Always
Yes.
Sunny broke their record, and then It's Always Sunny now breaking their record again.
Certainly a generational show. It's not one that's like it's not like American Idol that's like super like kind of more the homogenized like everyone should love this from New York to LA. Like, you know what I mean? It's a little bit more specific. It's a little bit more of like a little taste for it, but it's a great show.
Yeah.
It's funny. The performers are brilliant. The writing is great. Like it's just it makes sense. But I wouldn't have known that would have been the show, but it makes sense.
Question for you guys is, what do you think of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia now holding the record for longest running TV show, live action running television show of all time, and now breaking its record? What shows maybe would you like to see hold that title? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on. Like I said, we have got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we're going to start zipping through some of this stuff. Ridley Scott and Noah Hawley are now working together to create an Alien television series. This particular article coming from Variety. The announcement was made on Thursday by FX chief John Landgraf as part of the Disney Investor Day presentation. Noah Hawley will write and executive produce the series in his 26 Keys banner with Alien mastermind Ridley Scott in advanced talks to executive produce. I think it's a pretty set in stone in that regard. But yeah, Noah Hawley, very well known for some of his other creations like Fargo and FX's Legion, based on kind of the Fox mutant X-Men franchise. I think this could be really cool. One of the presenter at the Disney Investors Day meeting said that they're looking to try and return Alien back to its horror roots. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And they kind of want to bring a little scary element back to the franchise. I think it's fair to say that Alien has typically been more sci-fi than horror, and it hasn't been quite as scary or interesting in that regard for many audiences, at least the last film, dare I say the last two films. And in my opinion, Ridley Scott has lost his touch just a bit. So to bring in a brand new, fresh voice, brand new, fresh filmmaker, someone who kind of knows what they're doing and knows how to reinvigorate franchises and stories with a very interesting, a very fresh take with Noah Hawley, I think this could be spectacular. Josh, I know you've never been a huge Alien fan. You're not a huge sci-fi guy, but you are a big horror fan. Have you seen the original Alien film, first of all?
Yeah, yes, a while ago actually. It has been a while since I've seen it, but of course it's classic, and of course it's like in the pantheon of great sci-fi horror. A movie that I feel like can be classified as sci-fi or horror, but a horror sci-fi or a sci-fi horror, like literally either of those categories. Yeah, and I think it's, I mean, again, you have a classic, you have something that's in the same, vein of like all these like landmark films, Psycho for, horror and stuff like that, and then there's Aliens, which is a great sci-fi, Jaws. So it's a property that I think a lot of people like kind of like are like, the question will be, will they do it right? It's one of those kind of things where it's like, oh, will they do this one right? Because it could easily kind of fall off the rails either way. So yeah, I've seen the original, and I think this is really cool. Noah Hawley, freaking Fargo is like, I think Fargo and like Legion. I've only seen a few episodes of Legion, but
what a mind-bendy show!
Awesome.
What a mind-bendy show!
It was such a great show because it was so it just had so much originality and creativity behind it. Same with Fargo. Fargo was one of the best written and best produced shows, I think, on television consistently. And so I think they got the right person. You know, they got a person who seems to know what they're doing for sure. So it all comes down to, I think, execution and the concept. But yeah, I think it could easily be a great show. I think maybe some people might have a little bit of alien fatigue with all the sequels and all the sort of, you know, but that's with any property that.
But I think that's the smart move about making a series out of it as opposed to another film, is that you get to explore a very different corner of this alien universe. You get to take it into a smaller scale. It doesn't have to be the scale of a big movie, and you can focus on storytelling as opposed to big budget action sequences, right? And they are going to have big action sequences because guess what? It's Alien. Even look at Legion. They had big budget action sequences, but done on a small scale, and it looks they funnel their money into I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, they channel things into their proper zone so that things feel and look appropriate. And I think that was I think that's a really smart move. And if it doesn't catch on, hey, it's on FX, right? It's not like this major tentpole thing. It will be for FX, but in terms of the franchise, it's not going to be a game changer unless it catches on.
And, you know, FX is really good with John Landgraf, right, is FX, right?
Yes.
I believe. And so he seems, with American Horror Story, with they've had a lot Pose. They've had a lot of original content that has come through that is very, I feel like they keep their hands away. And I've heard interviews with him, and he's like, we try to keep our hands out of the pot here and let our creatives do what they're meant to do. Again, like what we were talking about earlier. So like with Ryan Murphy and American Horror Story, American Horror Story is pretty groundbreaking in a lot of ways for a lot of like, whoa, like that's insane, to the point where FX got some flack, I think around season 5, because it was too much. And, you know, there's definitely arguments for that. But FX is definitely a network that is going to sort of support the vision of the filmmaker, I think, more so than a lot of other networks probably. So I think that's a good move, I think, for FX, because it's going to be something where, like, you know, you do your thing, we're going to stay out of this. You guys are the creatives.
Yeah.
You know, we'll sort of just make this happen, which I think is, you know, again, they're really stacking the deck in the right direction. So let's hope that all sort of pays off, because FX does have a really different kinds of shows, and they're all very sort of like, I don't want to say auteur, but they're very sort of like, oh, this is definitely a Ryan Murphy thing. Oh, this is definitely a thing. So hopefully Ridley Scott will be able to,
and I think you hit the nail on the head. FX is one of those networks that lets creatives be creative and be kind of in control of their property as much as they need to be. Question for you guys is, what do you think of an Alien television series coming to FX? Are you excited by it? Are you over the Alien franchise? I'm interested to hear what your thoughts on this project might be. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know what those are. Okay, guys, one more project, kind of moving into more of the Disney branded content. Going to talk about some of Disney's films that they have coming out. A lot of these they've already announced. So a lot of this is not going to be like breaking news, but at the same time, these are projects that we know are coming out, we know are either going to Disney Plus or going theatrically. And this particular film, Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt, this is not news. We knew that this is coming out. In fact, like two trailers have already dropped for this movie. But the thing I think that makes this particular film newsworthy is that let's jump on to Disney's webpage. This is straight from Disney, you guys. Movies.disney.com/jungle-cruise is where you can find this particular page. Look at right here. Disney Jungle Cruise. Right underneath it says in theaters July 30th, 2021. Now, Josh, this particular date is this happens to be the day before your birthday, first and foremost.
Yeah. Yep, that's the most important. Yep, exactly. And I think the studios planned it that way, so thank you. I appreciate that. I know that was a big talk that they had.
So happy birthday to you. We're getting Jungle Cruise in the theaters, but that's the thing. we're getting Jungle Cruise in theaters. Currently, unless things changed. I think a lot of us were expecting at this Disney Investors Day meeting that they were going to start announcing this is going to be on Disney Plus, and this is going to be on Disney Plus, and this is going to be on Disney Plus. And they did a lot of that, but not everything. A lot of their tentpole films, like Jungle Cruise, like Black Widow, a lot of their bigger properties are still being released or being announced as being released. They are announced as being released. You understand what I'm saying? In theaters. Yeah. Again, all subject to change. There's that huge asterisk on the end of everything that Disney says here. But it seems like Disney is still committing to the theatrical experience. I was going to gloss over Jungle Cruise because, again, this is not a new property. We understand this is coming. 2 trailers have already come out for it. But it's interesting to me that Disney is still committed to a theatrical-only experience as opposed to what HBO Max is doing and upsetting a lot of people in the balance of saying, well, it's coming out in theaters, but it's also coming out on HBO Max. Instead, it's coming out on HBO Max!
Right.
So this is a really smart move on Disney's part, A, to help save theaters, B, to create exclusive interest in Disney Plus, and also to say to their competitors, we see what you're doing, but we're going to do the right thing, right? Josh, where do you see this? Or how does this strike you?
I think you hit all the points, perfectly. It seems, just from my perspective, it seems that is a very big asterisk. I think Disney, at the end of the day, is a business, and they're trying to sort of go, okay, like, what's our best investment? What's our best return? While still trying to be like, okay, like, we believe in the theatrical experience. We want people to have this. Having said, I'm sure it sort of like soothed the nerves of many of the movie theater companies and the owners and stuff like that. They're probably like, okay, cool, like, because it almost does feel like a reaction to Warner Brothers' HBO Max move of like, because if everything from the theaters is moving to streaming, like, let's just say, like, that's the scenario that we're with, they moved it to someone had to do it first, right? And Warner Brothers, like you said, didn't just quietly do it under the table. They were like, it was like a big party announcement almost. So it's not always like, it's like an improv. It's not necessarily what the first person says, but it's almost the reaction to it that like makes something interesting. How does this person react to it? Are we in a crazy world or in a sane world? So Disney's reaction to this is kind of setting that off. Like, all right, not every studio is going to just automatically follow. And this is just Warner Brothers. That asterisk that you talked about, I think, is very big. And especially with the vaccine coming out, and I think they were probably trying to do a little fortune telling and being like, okay, by the time this hits theaters, I think maybe people are going to be more out and about, and so it's going to be less of an issue because we have the vaccine. So they may have tried to play fortune teller a little bit and be like, I think we're going to be okay here. But I don't know. It's really all up in the air. I mean, like so many things, it's just so up in the air still. I think everyone's still kind of like sorting through all this mess. And each piece of information is another piece of the puzzle. So I think it's just another big piece of the puzzle of how this is all going to fall down. But I hope that my final prediction, I think movie theaters, no matter what, are going to be I think studios are just going to do more tentpole things at theaters, and they're going to do a lot more of this television stuff with HBO Max and things like that. That's not going to go away, but we're still going to get big movie productions like Star Wars's and like Avengers. Those things are all going to be in the movies, but I think it's going to be more of that. You're not going to see a lot of studio produced indie stuff in the theaters, like. I mean, studio produced indie stuff, but like, I don't want to
spend a lot of time on this because we already talked about this last week. But I think one of the things that Disney is doing specifically with their Marvel division, and we'll talk about this on the show on Friday when we cover all things Marvel. but I think it looks very clear that Disney is, like, with all of their Marvel television shows that they're doing, like Hawkeye and Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision and Loki, and it goes on and on and on and on and on, that they're spending time building up their Disney Plus subscribers and content and storytelling within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so we can not necessarily get these smaller stories, because Falcon and Winter Soldier, if you have seen the trailer, looks to be huge, like in terms of scope and scale and story, and it's going to have lasting impacts on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But for, like for your big tentpole franchises like Avengers, like your Black Widows, like your what else are we getting? Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum something, whatever, like what all the stuff that they've announced, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man 3, that stuff is going to come out into the theaters, and that's going to be their big, like, they're investing all this time and money and effort into creating a community, almost. I don't know if that's fair to say, but kind of like creating a base. And then, like, then you're gonna get these huge spikes.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, we're gonna spend more time on Friday talking about all things Marvel. But question is for you guys: what are your thoughts and feelings on not just Jungle Cruise keeping its theatrical release, but also Disney staying committed to doing theatrical releases, even when other studios have been very clear in coming out and saying, "Oh, we're just going to put all of our stuff on streaming." Jump down to the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. All right, guys, we're going to move on. This particular story, again, dropping straight from the Disney investors meeting. We're getting a lot of sequels and a lot of reboots and a lot of things coming. I mean, I know we literally just talked about Jungle Cruise and Disney being committed to the theatrical experience, but there's a lot of stuff that they need to put on Disney Plus if this Disney Plus is going to be their main focus, if this is going to be their main moneymaker here on out moving forward. And Hocus Pocus 2. It's something that's been rumored for quite a long time. Many a script has been drafted. Multiple attempts have been made to try and get Hocus Pocus 2 up off the ground. And now it's official. In fact, there's even a graphic that they released. Hocus Pocus 2 is official. Josh, we are going to be talking about, moving forward from this conversation on, we're going to talk about a lot of reboots, a lot of sequels, and a lot of remakes coming specifically to Disney Plus. You've seen the original Hocus Pocus. I know you're a fan. It's something that we used to watch every year around holiday. For those of you who don't know, Josh and I used to be roommates for 12 years. 12 years we were roommates. Years. 12 glorious years. So yeah, we used to watch Hocus Pocus from time to time.
We did.
Is a sequel to Hocus Pocus a good idea?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I think this is a perfect example of like, I think this is exactly what, like, Disney Plus is great for. I think things like that. Like, I think Hocus Pocus is a property that a lot of people love. A sequel makes, some sense. Like, you can see how they could take it in some different directions. You could see how they could sort of, like, expand that. They could bring the characters back. So it's, I think it makes a lot of sense. This is not something that I think people are clamoring to see in the theater. I don't think people are too demanding that they must have a theatrical experience about this one. Like, it's not like Star Wars or Avengers where it's like, I want to see this in the theater. So I think people are more than happy to see this at home. I think people are more than happy to sort of be like, oh, here's a cool thing on Disney Plus, and I think Disney's seeing, oh, here's a great property that we could sort of push Disney Plus with. I think it's going to hit all the right marks. I think it's a very comfortable and safe and smart reboot or sequel that they're doing. So it just depends on if it's good or not. I think that's going to be the biggest question. Will it be good? And Disney, they pull out all the stops, and if anyone can do it, Disney can. But so I think it's good. I think it's going to hit on all that. Again, will it be good? We don't know, but I think all the formatting of it makes sense.
And I also agree with you that like this is the perfect project to put out on Disney Plus. If Disney Plus is going to be the thing that you're committed to growing, and this is going to be your main focus from here on out, Hocus Pocus is the perfect project, or rather, Hocus Pocus 2 is the perfect project to get more people interested.
Yep.
You know, to put it out in theaters, it'll make, I don't know, $100,000 maybe. But on Disney Plus, it's that combined with other projects is going to help build your subscriber base, which is exactly what we're trying to do here on Gotta Love Them Movies, providing you with so much content. So subscribe, won't you? Anyway, guys, big question for you is, I know, right? Consider subscribing on YouTube. Big question for you is, what do you think of Hocus Pocus 2? Do you think it's a good idea? Are you one of those people or do you rather feel like, oh, like, why do we have to keep remaking things and sequel everything? And guys, we're going to be talking about a lot of sequels moving forward today. So jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Speaking of sequels, remakes, and reboots, Zac Efron is going to star in a 3 Men and a Baby remake. Again, with Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox, that was Touchstone, wasn't it, though?
I think you're right, yeah. I think you're right.
So I take that back. So Disney already owned 3 Men and a Baby, but for Disney Plus, they are doing a remake starring Zac Efron. We don't know quite who the rest of the cast is going to be yet. I think that, again, perfect thing for Disney Plus. Is it this is not exactly the kind of project that, I don't know, it just seems like yes, it's a perfect project for Disney Plus, but this remake, I am not all that interested in. I might check it out, I might not check it out. It's got to be a really special rainy day for me to check out the remake of 3 Men and a Baby, unless they do a completely different direction and do something really, really interesting with it. I don't know. That trailer's got to be extraordinary for me to watch the movie. Josh?
Yeah. Let's hope that they focus. Maybe the whole plot line will revolve around the ghost in the background, and we can really finally get some answers as to why there was a ghost in the background of that one scene that 3 Men and a Baby is so famous for.
Yeah, so let me address that really quick. If you guys are watching this and you have no idea what Josh is talking about, in the original 3 Men and a Baby, because there were 2 or 3 movies. I can't remember. And
I don't.
Wasn't it like
remember.
3 Men and a Wedding or I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't remember.
3 of them.
But in the original, in the very first one, there's a scene that takes place, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it was Steve Guttenberg. He's holding the baby in like the baby's room or whatever, and the camera is looking at him, and he's standing in front of the window, and the window is looking out over the city. And one of the PAs, just being completely aloof, walks right by the window as they're filming. And how that shot got put into the movie, how they didn't refilm that and say, cut, you idiot, you walked through the background, which it looks like there's just a person walking along the ledge of the building. How did that get put into the final cut of the movie? How did anybody miss that? Anyway, it did. It got put in. And so it sparked a huge controversy. Who is this person? Is that like the ghost that lives in the building? Like, what is going on here? We all know it was the PA who just didn't stop to think and realize like where he was walking, but there you go. Moving on. Oh, sorry. Josh, moving on. You had more thoughts about this.
Oh no, yeah, I just think, honestly, I genuinely feel like they are going to address that and have it like at least a nod to that somewhere. It's got to be. Like I cannot imagine that not being something that they're going to like cognizantly say something about. However, I don't know. I mean, it's a nice. I guess it works possibly in the sense that I don't think a lot of people are too passionate about this movie. I think people have liked the movie in the past. I think it was a fine, sort of kind of situational comedy movie. That worked. I don't know about the sequels, but But it's a thing that I think it's a safer reboot in the sense that you're not going to get a lot of like fans on Twitter being like, Steve Guttenberg wasn't, he didn't have the same character or whatever. So it's like I think it's going to
low
be like,
stakes. It's low stakes.
Yeah, exactly. So low stakes remake, reboot, it could be fun. I think again, maybe like same thing with Steve Martin thing, like just the fact that you have a good cast could possibly, depending on who they bring in. Let's see who are the three men that they bring in. We already have, Zac Efron. So okay, who would pair well with Zac Efron?
I just want to put Seth Rogen in everything. I think Seth Rogen makes everything better. And like if that was the direction that they were going, if they kind of brought in maybe not a raunchy comedy, but people who are, yesterday on the show we talked about John Mulaney, Andy Samberg, and Seth Rogen being cast in the live-action / animated Rescue Rangers movie, Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie.
Mm-hmm.
Those three names, I mean, first of all, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, I'm in. Attach those three names to it, I am in, right? So if like Zac Efron, I love Zac Efron. In fact, Zac Efron is my personal pick to have like whenever Marvel gets around to recasting X-Men, I would love to see Zac Efron play Wolverine. I think Zac Efron is a perfect pick for Wolverine. A lot of people disagree with me, and that's fine. But I love Zac Efron. I think he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah, he's taken some big risks recently, and he's trying to be like, I'm more than just Baywatch, and I'm more than just High School Musical as Zac Efron, and I think that's smart of him. And I think, I mean, not that this project is his reward, sort of thing, but like, but it still could be fun. And you're right. I think he's really tried to grow and show his chops. So I think he's definitely sort of like earned that. I
agree.
Space.
Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on the remake of 3 Men and a Baby starring Zac Efron? Is this something that you're interested in? Do you think that like this property speaks to you and like grabs you, or like what else would you like to see? What other people would you like to see cast in these roles? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. All right, guys, speaking of remakes, Disney is doing yet another remake of the Cheaper by the Dozen franchise. I guess we can call it a franchise now. The original Cheaper by the Dozen, done in, I think it was the 1950s, 1960s. Somebody fact check me on that. And then there was the remake with Steve Martin and Bonnie Hunt and, Superman, the guy who played Superman, Tom Welling, a whole bunch of other people in those remakes, but there was 1 and 2 with Steve Martin, and now they're doing another reimagined version of Cheaper by the Dozen. I think this is a really clever take. So here's the thing. Here's my criteria whenever remaking or rebooting a series or a franchise or movie or whatever. What are you adding to it? How are you elevating the material here? And the way that they're elevating the material in a timely manner, not just in a timely manner, but I mean like in a way that makes sense to do it now as opposed to yesterday, as opposed to tomorrow, which is the current climate that we live in is very socially conscious, right? We're very conscious of different people and demographics and cultures and races and all that stuff. And by doing a Cheaper by the Dozen remake, but with a culturally inclusive family. This is being brought on by the creators of Blackish and hold on, let me jump into the article. It's done by the creators of Blackish and there was another credit. I can't find it. Anyway, I think this is really interesting that we're going to have a multiracial family come together with everything that means. I think that is really interesting, especially given the state of the world, the climate today, the stuff that, social justice is kind of pushing towards. And not just that, but storytelling is now becoming more inclusive. And this is indicative of all the stuff that we talked about yesterday. Disney's animated film There is a new series. I think it's a series or a film. I can't quite remember. Iwaju, about an an actual African comic book, that has a very like Wakandan Black Panther kind of feel to it. That's coming to Disney Plus. Those are just a couple of examples, but I think this adds into that idea of here's a property that we have, something that we own, something that we can hopefully elevate the material, keep the spirit of it, but elevate the material, make it timely and make it relevant and say something new. Like give it a better commentary. I think this is a great idea. I mean, of course it could fall flat on its face. Nobody ever sets out to make a bad movie, but I don't know, Josh, I think this is a really cool and clever idea, in spin on this idea. Where do you stand? Do you want to challenge me on that?
We said the premise itself is, you said sort of a multi. I like to like read a little bit more about like what's going on with it and stuff, which is great. But I think it's fantastic, and I think that's great, and that's the direction we're going in, and that's a good direction we're going in. I think. I hope we get a lot more projects that are diversity, that are much more diverse. I just read an article in the New York Times. It was about Stephen King and it's a good article. Stephen King and his favorite TV adaptations, and he talks about The Stand that they made back in the 90s. And him and Mick Garris, good friends, and he wrote the screenplay or the teleplay, and Mick Garris directed it. But he said the Newsstand, this is the new one coming out, and he said one great thing about the Newsstand. He goes, I think this is a quote in the article. He mentions the idea that like the book is very white, the TV show is very white, but what they're doing with this stand is making it much more diverse. And he's like, and I'm all for that. And he's like, that's great. So I think this sort of this lean and this direction that we're going into sort of diversity and I think it's great. And I think this is just another project that sort of like is taking that step and being like, yeah, this is important. We need to do this. So I think it's great. I'm excited.
I agree. Question is for you guys: what do you think of the Cheaper by the Dozen remake? Are you looking forward to it? What things would you like to see done in it? And what more do you want to learn about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, we have so much stuff to cover. I'm gonna limit. We're only gonna cover 2 more topics here. I still have another 1, 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's another 6 topics that we're not going to talk about. We'll push that. We'll roll that into tomorrow's show. Just know that there's a lot more. There's so much more to talk about that we just don't have time for. So we have 2 more topics to cover. This particular, I'm interested in, again, with an asterisk. Lion King 2, we knew, like, Disney already announced that, yes, there will be a Lion King 2, but we didn't quite know who the director was going to be. So in this particular article from MovieWeb, I mean, you can look it up. It's probably in a whole bunch of other articles, but Barry Jenkins has been hired and slated to direct the new Lion King prequel movie. If you're not familiar with Barry Jenkins directed the Academy Award winning film for Best Picture, Moonlight. He also directed I believe he helped to adapt the screenplay of If Beale Street Could Talk. I personally was not a fan of If Beale Street Could Talk, but I'm, again, in the vast minority in that opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Barry Jenkins. He's a decent filmmaker. He knows how to work a camera. I don't feel that he knows how to tell a visual story very well. But then again, who am I to speak? Because he's an Academy Award winning director for Best Picture. So maybe I'm just going to have to eat my words in that. I enjoyed the live action remake of Lion King, and I was interested, maybe not excited, but I was interested to see what a prequel might be. I have a few more question marks rolling around through my brain. What a Barry Jenkins prequel of The Lion King would look like. Not many details have come out so far about what the Lion King prequel film would be about, but it's highly speculated, highly postulated that it will be the relationship between Scar and his brother Mufasa, and just kind of like what's going on there. Josh, I know that you're a big fan of Lion King, just the same as I.
Sure.
What do you think we can expect from a Barry Jenkins prequel film?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it makes sense. It's like we don't know the story of this two very interesting characters, Scar and Mufasa, two characters voiced by two fantastic actors. So like I mean, these are now in the live action. I'll be honest, I haven't seen the live action. I love the original. I love the cartoon. I just haven't seen it, not because I haven't wanted to. I just kind of haven't. I just haven't got to see it. But
in all candor, it's a little vanilla. The only reason to watch it is to hear Timon and Pumbaa. Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner. They kill it as Timon and Pumbaa. The rest of the movie is just a straightforward telling of the movie, of the story.
Yeah. And that's kind of when I saw that there was live action, I was like, okay, like I love the cartoon, but like is there a necessity for this? No, but will people love it? Sure. So cool. I think it. Bottom line is that people love the first one, and they, I'm guessing they'll probably like the prequel too. So I think it's a cool idea. I don't think it's messing with any sort of like story mythos of like, well, we can't mess with this story, So why not? And I think it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see who they get to play if they do that storyline. Scar and Mufasa, I think that'd be really cool. I think you get some great actors in there, and we'll see what they do with it. But I don't feel super strongly either way. But I think it's people like the first one. I'm guessing this is probably something they'll probably be excited about.
I agree. If you like the first one, you'll probably be excited about the second one. But what do you guys think of the live action Lion King sequel movie? Where do you stand? Are you looking forward to it? Are you not looking forward to it? I'm personally kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't exactly know how I feel about this yet. I need more information is what I need. But what do you guys think? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, again, due to time constraints, we are limiting today's show to one more article before we jump in and take your live comments and questions. And it looks like Matthew Wiles has been firing in a ton of comments and questions. Matthew, if you're still watching, continue to fire those in because we'd love to address them here on the show. Our last topic of the day that we are going to be talking about, and again, like I said, we have 6 more topics that will be rolled over into tomorrow's show because we just don't have time to address them today. But in the spirit of sequels, remakes, and reboots, one more project that gives me a massive question mark hanging above my head. Sister Act 3 is officially a project that nobody asked for. Cool. Cool. Sister Act, I think it's fair to say that the first Sister Act was the best, or rather the better of the 2 films. Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. Okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't a train wreck. Also not the kind of movie that you point to and say, yes, I love. Now, granted, there are a lot of people that have much love for Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. I'm not one of them. It's fine. It's like, who cares? It's one of those movies that you watch and you're like, yep, I could see why they made this, and then move on and never think about it again. But Sister Act 3, it's been, 30 years? Almost? Has it been 30 years since the last? No, it couldn't have been. Didn't the first Sister Act come out in 1990?
So, the Sister Act 2 came out in 1993, and I think So I think the first one was only a few years before that. So it was 91 or
Okay.
92, or 91 or 90, I think. Yeah.
Because I remember
But yeah.
we had just, my brother and I, this is way back in 1990. My family, we had just moved from the house that I was kind of like, I wasn't born in, but like when I was born, that's the house that we grew up in until I was 7. In 1990, we moved to this new house in Oil City, Pennsylvania. And we had just moved in, and some family friends came over, and it was like date night for my parents. And it was like it was like double date night or whatever. And so this other family came over to pick up my parents to go off to the movie theater and watch Sister Act in theaters. Like that was their double date night.
Oh,
And of course, my parents rented. We were just old enough that we could stay at home by ourselves without a babysitter. And my
nice.
parents had rented, The Rocketeer. They rented The Rocketeer for us to watch while they went to the movies and saw Sister Act. So that was my very first ever iteration or interaction, rather, with the Sister Act franchise. And then, of course, the soundtrack to the first Sister Act movie was my first CD ever. The first CD I ever
Nice.
owned was the soundtrack to Sister Act.
It's a great one. I think you could, yeah, you could have done a lot worse. It's a great soundtrack. It's fun. I mean, yeah, I think Sister Act is, when I heard that news, I was kind of excited, only because I just kind of want to see that character again. I just love Whoopi Goldberg so much in that, and I just think it's such a great vehicle for her too. I just watched Ghost the other night. It was on TV,
Man.
and I'm like, man, Whoopi Goldberg is so great. Like, I'm so glad that, like, did we just? Sorry, you may have said this. Is she back? Is she
Oh yeah,
involved in this? Is
she's
she
going to be
be?
reprising
Good.
her role as Sister Mary Clarence.
Oh, good. That's great. Well, then, I'm all on board, and she's brilliant. I watched her. Oddly enough, I just was like, I want to watch her Oscar speech that she got for winning Best
Well,
Supporting Actress for
also,
Ghost, and she was like,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
Oh, you were right in the middle of a thought. I don't want to derail that.
Sure. That's fine. So I just was saying, I just watched her. When I was watching Ghost, I was like, I know she won for this, so I wanted to see her Oscars acceptance speech. And she was so passionate, and she was so sweet, and just it was a great speech. But she said, "I'm not going away. I'm going to keep acting. I love this." And I was a little sad because I was like, she did do some more acting, but not as much as like maybe. I mean, now she's more of a TV personality and comedian as opposed to like actor first, and then she's sort of done more of that. So for whatever reason, but I'm just so happy to see her back in the habit with something both acting and
Well, don't
the habit.
forget that she's also playing a major
Yes.
role in the remake of Stephen King's Stand. I mean, previously
Yes.
you were
Also
talking about
very
The
excited.
Stand, the original
Yes.
Stand that Stephen King was
Mother
talking
Abigail.
about. But I mean, in the remake, she does have a prominent role.
Very much so. She plays the Mother Abigail, which is the sort of the beacon of good, sort of thing. Spoiler alert, sorry. But it's pretty well. I mean, if you haven't read or seen the show at this point, But yeah, so I'm very excited about that. She's just equally at home in drama as she is in comedy, and I think Sister Act is a great vehicle for her. It's kind of one of those situations where if it doesn't do great, whatever. I'm not gonna be too crestfallen. If it's great, awesome. We get another fun Sister Act movie out of it, or a Sister Act show out of it. So, yeah, movie. So I'm excited about that.
Let me I keep using the word postulate. Let me postulate something your way. Because it has been 27 years since we last saw Sister Mary Clarence on the big screen or on the small screen, whatever kind of a screen you happen to watch it on. 27 years is a long time to come back and revisit this franchise. In a similar regard, let me go back to the movie that I refuse to acknowledge the existence of, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think a lot of people got the impression that the reason for that movie coming out at the time that it did was that they were hoping to pass the baton of archaeology meets adventure to Shia LaBeouf's character, which, as we all know, went horribly wrong. And now there's big question marks as to, even though they announced Indiana Jones 5, is it actually going to happen?
Right.
So my question to you is, do you think that with Sister Act 3, being that it's 27 years later, are we potentially going to see Sister Mary Clarence pass the habit essentially down to a new
Right.
character in a new generation to take on that baton of let's reach out to the community and not just infuse faith back into the community, but infuse music and a reason to build community through the guise of
Right.
Catholicism, through the guise of music and storytelling. Do you think that that's something that we could expect to see, or is it just going to be one last adventure?
I think so. I think it's kind of I agree with you, and I think it's a great way to put it. And I think you really sort of encapsulated the movie in a lot of ways. Like community and music can bring people together. It can uplift them. It can inspire them. It can make them change. It can bring good to people when there's love and there's passion behind this music that they create. So I think it's in the bones of the original movies. I think it sort of like that's the spirit and the heart of the movies. So I think it would be foolish not to sort of like make it at least about that. I mean, they've had 27 years, so there's definitely 2020 they can make some a lot more. They can sort of perspective and commentary about that. Like, what has it done? Has it helped? Has it not?
Well,
What can we do today to do
especially
that?
being that
So
it's a series or it's a movie coming out on Disney Plus, because it's low stakes. If it works, great. You can
yeah,
make more content in that regard. But if it fails
right.
spectacularly, oh well, easy to bury.
Yeah, I think again, it's hitting all the marks for probably making the Disney brass happy. Just being like, great, we've got Whoopi Goldberg, bona fide star. People love her. We've got a property that people seem to sort of really respond positively to, that people have loved. So why not go for it and kind of. And you probably talked about this yesterday, but same with Chris Evans and like Buzz Lightyear,
Yeah.
like. People are like, great, we love Buzz Lightyear. We're in, and Chris Evans. So it's like, again, they're checking off all the boxes of people being like, I'm intrigued,
I
sort of thing.
agree.
And I think that's probably what they want. They just want, it's almost like, will you sign up for Sister Act 3? It's like, oh, great, you've seen it, whether you love it or
Oh
not, I don't
man,
know, but,
who? I want to meet these people who are signing up for Disney Plus just for Sister Act 3.
for Sister
Oh
Act 3.
dear.
Honey, did you know Sister Act 3's on? No, we gotta sign up. But again, I don't know. You're right, exactly. I don't know, but it did. I'll be honest, it did kind of excite me to be like, oh, I'm kind of happy. Like we need happy things in 2020, and like I'm
That's
happy
fair.
that I get to see Whoopi
That's
Goldberg
fair.
again, and I'm happy that I get to see her as Sister Mary Clarence. So it's almost like for me, it's almost like the fact that she's just back, like cool. Um, you know,
In the
uh,
habit.
the, in the habit. Yeah.
Question for you guys is, are you as excited as Josh is for Sister Act 3? Are you going to be signing up for Disney Plus just to see Sister Act 3? If you are, I want to know.
Millions of people are.
I
Obviously.
need to know. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. This is the end of the main portion of the show. Like I said, we have another six topics to talk about. Those topics will be rolled over to tomorrow's show. We just simply don't have enough time because we've got live questions to take.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys, we have a lot of comments being fired in from Mr. Matthew Wiles all the way from Leeds in the UK. And yeah, let's just start reading off some of these thingy things, shall we? Matthew starts off by saying, when did Josh become a trucker?
Hey, it's 2020. It's a living, man. I gotta survive.
Um, uh, Hang on a second. I've just noticed that as my credit cards are in the back of my phone, some of the numbers can be seen. Well, that's
No.
terrible. All right. So just
Can you blur? You can blur it out, maybe.
Hopefully the graininess of the pixelated graininess of my webcam is doing that for me. Matthew Wiles says, Steve Martin and Martin Short, I'm all in. Oh, wait. I live in the UK and Hulu doesn't exist. Oh.
What? That's
Well,
wild.
not only that, but Matthew's also commented in the past saying that HBO Max is not a thing because Warner Brothers has pre-existing contracts with Sky Television or Sky News or Skynet or like the Sky Network. Skynet? Did I just say Skynet? Did I just make a Terminator?
We're in the future.
Anyway, Matthew, Skynet will be taking over the world. It's going to start in the UK, and let us know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. There will be one to save us who shall rise. So if you see him or her or them, let us know so that we
In
can
the comment section
get
below.
behind them. Yeah, but first, like and subscribe.
Matthew Wells says, I love Disney for sticking to cinema releases. For me, Warner Brothers are my personal Thanos. Yeah, Warner Media has really, dare I say, screwed the pooch on this one. They have, I'm not saying that they made a bad, I'm not saying that what they're doing isn't going to be fruitful and isn't going to profit them in the long run, but the way they went about it was complete garbage. Complete garbage.
Yeah, they could have measured twice and cut once on this one. I think they could have really sort of stepped back and go like, how is this going to be received by the movie-going public, especially people who love movies and who are passionate about going to the movies? Like, how is this going to be received? It seemed very flippant in terms of like arrogantly flippant of like, here it is and deal with it and this is us.
Well, also
not
just the audience, the movie-going audience, but their partners, the people they're working with. Denis Villeneuve is the latest filmmaker to step up and rip Warner Brothers a new one. He wrote an entire article exclusively for Variety, and Variety published it the other day, and it is ridiculously scathing to say that he wasn't even given a heads up at all to say that because it's his film Dune that he's been working on, but he's also working on, it's a multi-film deal. Like he's going to be doing multiple.
He's locked in.
Yeah. And so now he's like, am I going to do it for you because you really screwed me over on this? I don't know. So now are we, is the Dune franchise going to suffer because Warner Brothers screwed over their creators? I don't know, man.
That's and you would have think that this would have been a little bit more, maybe again, cut twice, measure twice with the creatives that they have. Like, hey, this is the direction we're going. We want you to know that. Yeah. Like almost even just like a courtesy heads up, maybe. Maybe they did. I don't know, but look, Warner Brothers has produced some of the greatest content. Like, they produce some fantastic content, and they have a lot of great talent. So I'm kind of surprised how quickly and how aggressively they moved in that direction. Yeah. It seemed like such a sharp jerk to the left as opposed to sort of a calculated, slow drive over that way.
Well, because, Disney and Warner Brothers kept ping-ponging back and forth of, we're going to put this movie on streaming. Yeah, well, we're going to put this movie on streaming. Oh, well, now we're going to put this movie on streaming. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're going to drop 17 movies on streaming. Beat that, Disney. Yeah. And Disney's response was like, okay. You go ahead and do it. We're gonna do something clever.
Yeah, they played. If it's for a card game, they played. They went in all on the turn, and then on the river they were like, Disney was like, cool. Like I see your blood. Like I see it, and we're fine. We got a good hand, so we're not gonna have to. We don't have to call you on that. Yeah. Like we can we're fine.
Matthew says some things like Willow I'm excited about. Some things like Willow I'm excited about. Coming out of the shadows, but like you said about Heroes, Hocus Pocus doesn't need a sequel. It's done what it's done. Matthew, why is it that I can never understand what it is that you're saying? I love you. I love you to death. Let me try this again. Some things like Willow, I'm excited about. It's coming out of the shadows, but like you said about Heroes, Hocus Pocus doesn't need a sequel. It's done what it's done. No, it's arguable that no film needs a sequel. In fact, no film ever needs to exist. But being that it's an industry and it's a money-making game, it's a calculated figuring of what existing IPs are going to generate enough interest into keeping our head above water enough so that we can build a raft and then climb up on top of that raft, essentially.
Right.
So do we need a Hocus Pocus 2? No. But I think a sequel will generate enough interest so that it will give Disney just enough money and maybe time, because time is also another factor. Look at Mandalorian. Disney Plus has 3 things going for it right now: Mandalorian, Hamilton, and their extensive library. Nobody else is signing up for Disney Plus for any other reason. Their Christmas holiday specials, nobody's signing up for Disney Plus for the Christmas holiday specials. The
Sister Act 3 over here.
That's true. But it hasn't come out yet.
That's true.
But yeah, like those are the 3 reasons that people are signing up. So if you continue to build your original content based on popular IPs, that will generate enough interest in the time factor, maybe not on the money factor, maybe on the money factor, but in the time factor. Oh, here's another thing that I'm familiar with. I'll keep Disney Plus for another month. Okay, I'll watch this thing. And then the Marvel shows come out, or whatever stepping stone. I think Sister Act 4 is going to be a stepping stone show, like almost a placeholder. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah, we don't need it, but...
right, yeah. We don't need it, but it'll be fun. It's something fun, and people can, kind of be like, oh, we love the first one, so let's see what happens with the second one.
Matthew Weil says, my wife is going mad over the 3 Men and a Baby remake. Brilliant. The originals are so 80s. They are hilarious. I don't know how they will do the remake, as technology these days would make the events not possible. Can you remind me, because it has been a long time since I've seen any of the 3 Men and a Baby movies, what events are you referring to that technology would not make the events possible? Because I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying there. Do you, Josh?
And I feel I don't remember the exact sort of premise why these 3 men all of a sudden had a baby, but I'm sure that's something that the writers are probably very cognizant of, and they're probably like, I was listening to R.L. Stine talk about writing, and he said, ever since the invention of the cell phone, it has been so hard to sort of like, not hard, but like it's tricky to write horror because like, oh, something bad's happening, beep, boop, 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 call the police, got my cell phone. Yeah. So it's like, you have to the writers nowadays sort of have to creatively find ways to meld wire these forces together and to keep these forces together. So it is a creative issue, especially nowadays when we do have so much technology that like can make it, oh no, our car broke down by this old gas station. Cool, let me call a tow truck. Boop, so, oh, my battery's dead. Well, I'll just turn on the engine. Oh, the car's dead. So it's like you have to kind of really get past all the sort of the schlocky stuff and be like, what's a really good reason why this works and why technology can't intervene.
And that right there is the difference between suspension of disbelief and creating a good reality for your characters. Because,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, the cell phone's dead. Oh, but you can plug it into the car. Oh, but the car battery's dead. Oh, but you can have it towed to the tow truck store, because that's a thing.
Right.
Just
going to the tow truck store.
Go to the tow truck store.
Tow truck store. Yeah. No, yeah, but you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's like that's where some of the sort of the hard work and the creativity comes in of like, how do we make this, like you said, suspension of disbelief, reality? Like, how do we make this believable, but also like work?
Matthew Weil says, "Ghost in the background." What? Yeah, we already addressed that, but
yeah, check it out.
Ghost in the background. Yeah, give it
lots. I'm sure there's tons of internet videos, tons of like things to really dive into that hole.
Maybe it was his shadow. Maybe it wasn't directly the PA who walked in front of the window, but maybe it was just the shadow that projected on the back wall that was the matte painting of like New York City as the background or something.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be on like a high rise or
Yeah.
something, and you see, I can't remember if, like you said, it was like how to what degree they were walking by, or like it was just a shadow there, but like, but it was obviously there, and you could see something, and so it was like, what is it? And of course, both pre-internet, sort of like all that age of like ran wild with. What is it? Is it a ghost? Sort of.
And
thing.
Josh seems to think that they're going to address it in the remake. I don't think that they will.
I think they've got to, because it's such a sort of like socially aware thing about that movie. So if they don't, I feel like it's a missed opportunity.
I just don't see Disney doing something like, because incorporating an unintentional Easter egg into the narrative of a story, I don't see them doing that.
That's fair. I think I feel like as a writer, I feel like it would be a fun thing.
Oh, that would
do.
be super fun.
Feel like fun for you.
I just don't think Disney is going to give them the go ahead.
That's fair. I'm curious to see what they do with that.
Agreed. Matthew Weil says, "What's the difference between a reboot and a remake?" Great question. In fact, this question does not get addressed enough. A remake is a straight retelling of the story. In fact, probably the best. And when I say the best remake, I mean in terms of the technical aspects of remaking a film, was Gus Van Sant's Psycho.
I was thinking
from
that too.
1998, 99, something like that.
Yeah. That was as literal, to the far left, literal as you can get of a remake.
Yeah. It is he did shot for shot. The dialogue was exactly the same. The music was exactly the same. Nothing was different except for the color of the film and the people portraying the characters. Those were the only differences. A reboot is taking the general concept of, let's say, Transformers. There's 1,000 different Transformers stories that you could tell, but they all kind of exist within like this. You have the same characters. You have Optimus Prime, you have Bumblebee, you have Megatron, you have Starscream, you have like all your classic characters, and putting those characters in a completely different story. The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man is the perfect. I don't know if that's a perfect example, but that's a wonderful example of a reboot. So they did Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which 1, 2, and 3 with Tobey Maguire. They wanted to do a Spider-Man 4, which would have been a sequel, but because of time, money, contracts, and the complete failure, which was Spider-Man 3, the studio decided, well, we have to make more Spider-Man movies, otherwise the rights will go back to Marvel. So we need to make another one. So instead of making Spider-Man 4, they rebooted and they put Andrew Garfield in the titular role, and it's still the same concept. It's a boy who gets bitten by a spider, who goes off and has adventures and now must save the city. That is a reboot, as opposed to a remake, which is just a straight retelling. And sometimes the lines get a little blurred. Like Ocean's 11, I contend is a remake, but I think there's an argument for a reboot in there somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I think those lines can be probably blurred a little bit. I mean, a remake could be technically a reboot in some sense. But I think that's a perfect way to put it. Of like, especially that's a perfect example. All the Batmans and all the Spider-Mans, like with the Michael Keaton version and the I can't think of his name, Christian Bale version. Those are it's like all those are reboots, right? They've rebooted Batman. They're not remaking the first film with the Joker of being like, kidnapping Vicky Vale or whatever.
Well,
it's like
even go the original Batman with Michael Keaton and the Dark Knight with Christian Bale. It's still Batman versus the Joker, but it's a completely different story. It's the same characters, but a very different story.
Right. Yeah. If you remade if you remade Thelma and Louise, you would make the story from them going on their adventure to the final cut of the film. If you rebooted Thelma and Louise, it would maybe be like their prequel, like the story before that happened, or maybe like in a different universe. But like if it was the same story, you'd be in remake territory, which
That's
is
it. Matthew Weil says Zac Efron as Wolverine. Oh, Matthew, I hate you. You said, Zach, not for the Zac Efron comment, but for what comes after. Josh, you need a little context here. Let me read the comment first. Zac Efron as Wolverine. Sure. No. John Boyega all the way. How are you so wrong in that casting, Mike? Okay, so here's the thing. Matthew Wiles and I have a friendly beef. We have friendly beef with each other. Matthew, so it's not that I have anything against John Boyega. I just don't think he's the best actor on the planet. He's okay. He's fine. But a Chadwick Boseman, he is not. So even though that Marvel has come out and announced and been very candid in saying that they will not recast the role of Black Panther, before that announcement, I was very certain that they would recast the role of T'Challa of Black Panther. Mm-hmm. We now know that is not the case, so this whole argument has been put to rest. But Matthew would like to see John Boyega as T'Challa. I don't think John Boyega would work because he's not a very good actor. To which now he keeps trolling me with all this John Boyega nonsense. I hate you.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I don't have a strong opinion about John Boyega, other than I haven't seen him in a lot of other stuff. Other than I know he was in Attack the Block, which I need to see and I haven't seen, so that's my bad.
That's his best movie.
Definitely,
that's his best movie.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. And with Star Wars, I think once you get thrown into the machine of Star Wars, it's kind of hard to sort of like have any. I don't know. I mean, like I feel Adam Driver really, he's shown, and even Daisy. What am I thinking of her name? Daisy Ridley. Like, I think they all did great, but I think you're in the machine. When you're in a Star Wars movie, you're in the machine, and so it's hard to sort of like judge just that. So I know he's just come out with a new series.
It's like a courtroom drama, right?
It's on Amazon. Yeah, Amazon Prime or something. It's like 5 stories, and he plays like a policeman, or I believe, or something like of that. Anyway, point is, now Star Wars afforded him an opportunity. Well, I shouldn't say that. Like, obviously, him and Star Wars have had like a very tumultuous sort of relationship in that regard about his character being represented and stuff. But point is, now he's really getting to sort of branch out in other dramatic roles. So hopefully we'll get to see more drama from him. And I haven't personally formed an opinion of his acting chops in that regard, other than all I've seen him in Star Wars, which again is The Machine. Yeah. So I'm curious. I don't know how that would look, but I'm not opposed to John Boyega as Wolverine, but I'm also not as a huge a fan of Wolverine as I know maybe you and Matthew are. So I don't have a dog.
Well, just to be clear, Matthew is trolling me with his comment of John Boyega as Wolverine. Just so we're clear here. He goes on to say, 3 Men and a Baby will be Zac Efron, Andrew Garfield, and The Rock, because The Rock says yes to everything. I'd watch that. I don't know how Andrew Garfield would fit into the mix. That's a little more random. I don't know if we're going along those lines. Can we? I don't know who's like another big like super action star.
I mean, you could get Vin Diesel.
Let's get Chris Tucker back. Oh, let's get
Chris Tucker.
Shoot. Ice Cube. Let's get Ice Cube in there.
Ice Cube. Yeah, I mean, why not?
Can you imagine an R-rated 3 Men and a Baby with Ice Cube, The Rock, and Zac Efron? That's a movie I would watch.
I could see that being marketed, and I think all those guys are fantastic in their own right. So
yeah,
why not? And basically it's like it's the three people who are three disparate people that you could sort of like pair together. Again, Steve Martin and Martin Short, the sort of buddy comedy-ness that's going to happen. The Tommy Boy, Chris Farley,
Right.
David Spade. It's these sort of like odd couple pairings, or these sort of like three types of pairings, like Golden Girls style. You've got the Blanche, the Dorothy, the Sophia, the Rose. Like you've got these characters who work so well together because they're so sort of like different kinds of like personalities. So I think if you can really make that alchemy work, if you can get the right alchemy there, then you probably got a good show.
I agree. Two more comments, both from Matthew. He says, how could I not blow up your feed when my two favorite New Yorkers are shooting the breeze?
Matthew Wiles, we love you. There's a lot of Matthew Wiles love here on this today because we both love Matthew Wiles.
Sure do. We should probably plan a trip. Let's do, you know what, Josh, let's go to Leeds and we'll do Gotta Love Them Movies live from Leeds. And
I'm there.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. That'll be lovely.
I'm there.
Matthew Wells says the events are a baby. Oh, this is his pitch for the movie, 3 Men and a Baby. I love that we're still talking about this. The events are a baby is left on a doorstep and they can't get hold of Ted to confirm he is the child because he is in Brazil or something nowadays. You would call his mobile phone and he would say no. He would say no, it's not. And then you would call family services or something. But you're right. Maybe it's the ghost. That's the linchpin here. Ooh,
That's funny.
The ghost is at the heart of it all.
I don't know. I would if I had to bet on the roulette table, I would definitely put my money on that one. I think there will, but it's funny. You're right. It's hard to. I don't know how you do it. I don't know. I think, but the great thing is I don't think anyone is like beholden to the original premise that it must be sort of, like there must be some reason. Like maybe they're just like three dudes who are like, you know what? I'm going to adopt a baby, and my two buddies are going to help me raise it. Who knows? It could just be simple as that.
We also live in a day and age. One of the things that we've been talking about a lot on this show specifically yesterday and today, is how inclusive Disney is becoming in their storytelling, not just in racial relations and relationships and demographics and portrayals, but also in their depictions of same-sex couples. And this is only going to become more prominent as storytelling moves forward. So, I mean, while I don't think we're going to see a polyamorous homosexual relationship portrayed on Disney Plus, I also wouldn't completely count it out. It's possible that they may do something like that without putting any labels or tags on it. They could just It might be the case that, hey, here are three men who are in a polyamorous relationship with each other, and we're just never going to address it.
Yeah, and maybe Zac Efron, like I said, has been sort of picking projects that are sort of like a little bit more like less, like okay, like I want to do stuff. So maybe he was like, oh, this is cool. Disney's going to do a project where it's a couple and maybe their friend, or I don't know how they're going to do it, but like maybe he was like, oh, that's interesting, that's cool, that this is progressive, this is cool, maybe that's why I want to sign on. Or maybe it was just a big like, well, here's a lot of money for a funny property.
Could be, yeah.
But
yeah,
who
could
knows?
be. I actually would really, now that we're kind of like talking about this out loud, I would really dig that. Whether they address
that would be cool.
The status of the relationship of the three men or not. I think that would be really interesting to see. It would be timely. I would I would really dig that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I'm curious to see. I mean, I think then you have to sort of go, well, is the comedy coming from the fact that they are a couple? I mean, maybe, I don't know. But then you're kind of like, well, I don't want to like, it shouldn't be like, oh, isn't it funny that these two are together and like, whatever sort of thing. Not that they would do that.
No, I don't think that they would. I think that they would know enough. If they did go down that road, they would have to know enough that the comedy can't come. Because we were watching, Kim and I, just before we went to bed last night, we were watching old episodes of Friends, like some of the more Christmas episodes of Friends. And there are things there are comments made that just do not hold up in 2020.
Yeah.
So I think we're very aware of that level of storytelling.
Sure.
That you can kind of look at and say, like, this is where the comedy cannot be drawn from. You can't make those kinds of not just comments but insinuations today.
Right. Like if you like you can't go cut to a coffee shop and like, the comedy's coming from the fact, wait, are those two a couple? Or, something like that. It's like, and like you said, 90s and 80s sitcoms, like rewatching like certain things like Cheers and things like that, you go, oh man, there's some things in there that just are, luckily we progressed, right? So it's just like, oh good, we're progressing. So yeah, I
just
think
normalizing the
smart.
situation.
Like Disney's, they weren't born yesterday. They understand. I think they would be smart about that and cognizant. So I don't know. I think that could be a fun angle. It just depends on how it's executed. I mean, it's more about the execution than than anything. So let's see who they get and how it's executed.
And our last comment comes in from it looks like a first-time viewer, Matthew Wiles. He says, gotta love them movies, live in Leeds. Merry Christmas, Matt Wiles. Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Merry Christmas. Happy Boxing Day.
Happy Boxing Day when that comes around. Thanks so much for watching, Matthew. Thanks for being part of the conversation. Thank you for giving us things to talk about and creating a discussion. As you know, this is the whole purpose of Gotta Love Them Movies. Yes, I've branded it as your daily dose of movie news. That's the kind of, on the surface, the primary purpose of, hey, here's some news. Let's talk about this. But the spirit of it is generating a conversation, creating a community, and you, sir, are that community. Well, not solely. I mean, all that responsibility does not solely rest on your shoulders, but like, you understand what I'm saying. Like, this is a community, this is a conversation. This is why I have rotating guests like Mr. Josh Hurley, of which, thank you so much for waking up here early. I mean, yesterday Tracy Mull was on the show. She time traveled 2 hours in difference.
Same.
You are also time traveling. So thank you, Josh, so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me on. I love the show, and it's so much fun to get to talk movies with you. Nobody knows and is passionate about movies like Mike, and like you love movies so much, and I think you're a great. This is a great show.
Well, you should talk to some of the trolls in the comments section below. They might have a few.
Trolls exist? That's awesome.
Yeah, they're on a world tour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Justin Timberlake's my favorite. But it's no Sister Act 3, but let's be honest. No, I love the show, and it's so fun to be on. So thank you. I'm really excited. Anytime I get to come on the show, it's a good day. So thank you for having me.
Well, Josh, tell everybody where they can find you online and what projects you have coming up in the near future.
Thank you. So I've been doing some I'm here recording some audiobooks, so we'll have some audiobooks coming out. You can always, wherever you get your audiobooks, you can just look me up, and done some fun things. Check it out. You can go to audible.com and check that out, or you can find me on Twitter,
or just Google the name Josh Hurley.
There's also a race car driver named Josh Hurley, which is fun. So check him out. See what he's up to. Maybe he's got some races coming up. Who knows? That'd be cool. Let's see what Josh, the other Josh Hurley's up to. He may have some more interesting stories to tell too. He may be a big Sister Act fan too, so who knows?
That would be really fun to see you and race car driver Josh Hurley in the same room together, or like pair up together on a project. Maybe like he writes a book about like his life and you narrate it. I would love to see that
would be
happen.
Fun. That would be fun. Or like the story of two Joshes is just like his story is race car driving, and my story is doing narration. And I think I friended him once on Twitter, but I don't think he was too interested for some reason. He was like, I don't know. I was like, it was just on the lark of like, hey, we have the same name. He's probably like, who are you, weirdo?
It's funny you say that, because I have reached out to two different Mike Browns who are also comedians. One is in Arkansas, one is in here in Harlem. And I have become friends with two other comedians also named Mike Brown. So it's been a dream of mine to put on a live show called We Are Mike Brown, and just get all the different Mike Browns who are comedians to just do a show together.
That's really fun. Yeah, I love that idea of everyone having the same name. It's just in the same show. That's great.
Going to the stage, Mike Brown!
We got to make it happen. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
This is all over. We got to make it happen.
Josh, thanks so much for being here and having your particular brand of insight and your wisdom. I love chit-chatting with
Thanks,
you.
sir. Likewise, my friend. Anytime, I'll be there.
Which is why we were roommates for 12 glorious years.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. 12 years! Viva la 12 years!
Viva la 12 years! Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is what all the Mike Brown comedians of the world would want you to do. All right, guys, my name is Mike Brown, and I am one of those comedians of the world. This is Gotta Love the Movies, your daily dose of movie news. Thank you so much for watching. You guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness in the world today, please take that opportunity. If you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, please speak kind words to each other. And as always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.